Good morning, everyone. A new customer recently said to me, I picked you for 3 reasons. He said, first of all, I was engaged by your 1-minute pitch. He said, and then I went and checked out your website and that backed up what you said. He said, and then I asked you for a proposal. He said, and I was really impressed at the way you focused on me and the benefits I'd get. And that brought home to me how important business communication really is. It's the difference between having a great product or service, which we've all got, and having customers who want to pay you money and buy it and engage with you and become your clients. Communication is not only that difference between an idea and a successful business, it's what makes the closing the deal really smooth and seamless. And communication takes your customers on a journey with you. And that journey is what I call connect, convince, convert. So communication, first of all, connects with our audience, then it convinces them that we are credible and that they want to continue that engagement with us, and then it converts them, it encourages them to take action. So that's what business communication does. But gosh, sometimes it's a real hassle, isn't it? So today I'm going to be talking to you about how to de-hassle your business communication. So business communication is sometimes a bit like this. It's a bit of a pain in the butt. You might be thinking, I've got a website, but how do I make it really sort of stand out from the others? What do I say on my website? How do I get people to stay? If I write proposals, where do I start? I'm getting more of them rejected than accepted. You might be thinking about social media. You love to do it to stay in touch with your friends, but for your business, you can't just share emojis and cat videos. But how do you use social media to help you drive your business? What about thinking about a newsletter? Should I, shouldn't I? What do I say? What is news? You've been asked to do a presentation or a pitch. Help, you might be thinking, what do I say? What am I going to say seems to be one of the biggest hassles that people have. And how do I get my message across? Well, if you're thinking like that, then you're in the right place, because over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share with you some tips for de-hassling your business communication. And we're going to look at 3 things. We're going to look at how to build a strategy for your message and why it's really important. We're going to look at how to get your message out there, and we're going to look at how to cheat. Everybody loves a bit of cheating. We're going to look at how to cheat and make things a bit easier. So we're going to make sure that your business communication is hassle-free. So let's start by looking at the strategy. And first of all, why do you need a strategy for your message? Why would we need to start with a strategy? Well, we need a strategy for 3 reasons. By strategy, I simply mean that we're going to think about our message and plan what we're going to say. And by doing that, we can make sure our message is really clear, because nobody engages with something they don't understand. And whilst it might be really clear in our own heads, when we try and communicate it, sometimes if we haven't thought it through, it's not clear to our audience. So by having a strategy, we make sure our message is really clear. Secondly, by spending a bit of time thinking about our message and who we're talking to, we can make sure it's really, really customer focused. When we know who we're talking to, then we can sort of metaphorically, if not literally, use their name, and we can make sure we're talking in their language so that they really understand us. And the third reason for creating a message strategy is that it makes sure that our messaging is consistent, our communication is consistent. We're not saying one thing one week and something else the next week, one thing on our website, something else in our presentations. It's really consistent. And the reason consistency is important is because consistency is what drives credibility. So that's why we need a strategy, so that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. So how do you develop your message strategy? The way that you develop a strategy is actually quite simple, and it's about asking yourself 5 key questions. The first question is, why do I do what I do? And the reason it's important to be able to think about your why and the passion behind your business is because all research shows that although we think we make decisions, business decisions with our head, we don't. We make them with the heart. And people want to connect with a why. They want to connect with people. They want to connect with a passion in the business. Now, of course, they then back that up with facts and figures, and you've got to be credible. But that initial connection is made at a very emotional level. So it's really important to think about the why behind your business so that you can communicate that in order to connect. Who am I talking to? If I was having a conversation and I didn't know who I was talking to, how can I possibly address you? So unless you can work out who your audience is, you can't speak in their language, you can't address them. And the number of times I hear in elevator pitches in Fresh, for example, oh, we help everybody. I help everyone. I do everything. No, you don't. You don't help everyone. You help a specific group of people, and the more precise and specific you can be, then the more you're likely to talk their language and the better they will hear you and understand you. A third question to ask yourself is, what do I offer? Well, this is the one that most people find absolutely the easiest to answer. We all know what we offer, but of course we know tons about our business. And when we're talking about what we offer, it's important at some stages to be able to give that detail, but it's also really important to be able to succinctly summarize what we offer, usually in no more than 3 or 4 key points. So it's really important to think about what you offer and how you group your offerings if you've got multiple offerings, so that you can be very succinct. The fourth question is, what makes me good at what I do and what makes me different? Now, you don't have to be unique. A lot of people say that things are unique that aren't really. So don't try and go for uniqueness unless you really, really are sure. But what makes you good at what you do and what makes you different? It's very important that you can articulate that. And finally, and probably the most important, how do my customers benefit from dealing with me? And it's the bit that most people forget in their communications. We're so keen to talk about what we do and what we offer and what makes us great that we forget to say how the customers benefit. And that's the other reason it's really important to know who you're talking to, because then you can really start to get very precise about how they will benefit. So if you can do that and answer those 5 questions, you're well on your way to having a strategy for your message that will underpin all your communications. And that's where the de-hassling really starts. Just a few tips for creating your strategy and making that part of the process hassle-free. One tip is ask all parts of your business. Obviously, if it's just you, then that's it. But if you've got multiple people in your business, multiple departments, ask them for their input, because each part of your business will have a different view and a different perspective that might be very useful. Ask your clients. That might be formally through a survey. It might be informally. It might actually be by use of a third party to run your survey. But ask your clients what they think, because that's a very, very good way, and often throws up, I've done customer surveys for clients that throw up points that they really hadn't thought about, either for strengths or for areas they could improve. And the third thing is you might want to get a facilitator, and certainly I run workshops like that for my clients, helping them to develop their strategy. So that's the first part, is to de-hassling, is start with a strategy. Then I want to talk about getting the message out there. So there are 10 forms of business communication, and each of them plays a role in that customer journey I talked about, the connect, convince, convert. And when I say there are 10 forms of business communication, you might say, well, hang on, surely there's way more than that. But actually, there really are just about 10. There are a few outside of this, but there are 10 main ones that all businesses use, or most businesses use. Now, you may use some of these, you may use all of these. But when you realize that there are only 10 and the others are just sort of variations, it actually makes it much simpler to think about your communication. So the 10 are, and I'm not going to spend too long on these because hopefully these are reasonably familiar to you, but the 10 forms are an elevator pitch. We all know what that is, the 60-second or 45-second pitch. A website, that's pretty self-explanatory. Brochures. Now, some of you might think brochures are old hat, but brochures are actually a very good way to leave a nice tangible reminder with somebody, or they can be soft copy brochures that people download from your website, and they're a great summary of your value proposition. Blogs and articles are a fabulous way to share your expertise and really build credibility. Now, a newsletter is something that some of you may choose to do. A newsletter is different to other forms of communication in the sense that it's by subscription. Customers have actually actively asked you to stay in touch with them, and that really helps you to develop and maintain relationships, including with existing customers, not just prospective customers. Now, proposals, you might not have thought of these as a form of business communication, but actually they are. They're a very good way to sell your value and the customer benefits. Case studies are one of my favorites because case studies help us to do two really powerful things. First of all, we can use the words of others. We can get other people to bang our drum for us instead of us saying to everyone how good we are. Case studies use the words of others. And the other thing is they tell a story. And stories are the most powerful form of communication. So a case study simply tells a success story of someone who's worked with you. Presentations are a fabulous way to make a very direct contact with your audience, even from 19,000 kilometers away, like I am from all of you. But they're a very good way to make a very direct connection and to help convince people as well. LinkedIn profiles are no longer just about finding a new job. If you are in business, your LinkedIn profile, you can be absolutely certain that people will look you up either before meeting you or after meeting you. And your LinkedIn profile is a really important part of your communication strategy and should be telling potential clients how you help them and how they will benefit. And finally, ebooks. Not everyone will use these, but if you want to go into a topic in a lot more depth than you can do in a blog or article, you might want to have an ebook. And these are really fantastic for showcasing your expertise. Now, how does knowing that there are these 10 forms of content, how does that help de-hassle your business communication? The reason it helps de-hassle it is because it's really helpful when you understand that these 10 forms of business communication form what I call the communication ecosystem. They interact with each other. None of them works alone. They are, as I say, an ecosystem where one supports and helps the other. So each piece of communication, you may not use all 10, by the way, but each piece, you are certainly going to use more than one. And I would say that most organizations I know, even small organizations, probably use 4 or 5. Each piece plays its part, but doesn't work alone. And the reason it's important to understand that, if you want to take some of the hassle out, is that it's about setting expectations. One blog won't work miracles. It's a question of having all these different forms of communication with the same message, those choir boys singing from the same hymn sheet. That's what takes out the hassle and makes it really effective. The other thing to understand about this communication ecosystem is that each piece of communication has to connect. Each one, you must never leave the client or the reader hanging. So each one has to then pass them on to the next piece of communication. There has to be a way that they can get in touch with you or a way that they can read something else or go somewhere else. We don't want any orphan communications. And of course, each client will take a different path to the same end destination, i.e. doing business with you. Some of them might start at your website, then look at your LinkedIn, then read an article. Others will take a completely different path, which is why it's so important that they are interwoven and that each one leads to another. So think of these communication pieces as all working together, and they will give you streamlined, efficient, hassle-free communication. We're just going to look now at how to cheat. And when I say cheating, I really mean repurposing. Sorry, Darren. So not that kind of cheating. So we're going to look at repurposing. Repurposing is your friend if you want to take the hassle out of your communication. What does repurposing mean? It simply means you write something once, you can use it in multiple forms. You might just need to tweak it a little bit, but you can use it multiple times. And that makes your communication very efficient and very consistent. And I want to give you some examples of how you can repurpose your communication. So let's start off with, I'm not going to go through all 10, but let's just take a few of them. An elevator pitch. An elevator pitch, if you write it down, becomes an introductory email. It can form the first paragraph of your brochure. I had a client who was exhibiting at a conference, speaking at a conference, and they had a stand at the trade show. And he said, "Oh my God, Carol, can you help me write a blurb for the conference catalogue?" I said, "Lawrence, you've got it. We wrote your elevator pitch. You've got it." "Oh, yeah." It could be your bio. It could be part of your homepage on your website or your LinkedIn. Think about articles. Now, articles, you can publish these on your website as a blog article on your website. You can publish them on LinkedIn. They can become the main content of your newsletter. I've even had 2 clients where I wrote a series of articles for them, which they then used, they sort of basically put them all together and used that as the basis for their book. Presentations. Your presentation can give you some great ideas for articles. It can also be then written out, if you like, in more, and written out in written format and become an ebook, and it can become some of your web content. And then finally, we talked about banging your own, having other people bang your drum for you in terms of case studies. Now, your case studies can go on your website, either as full stories or little snippets as testimonial quotes. They can go on your LinkedIn. They can go in your brochure, probably as shortened version, or again, or as a quote. They can go into your elevator pitch. "Last week I was working with, recently I helped," and they can go into your presentations. That's just some of the ways you can repurpose. And my client who was exhibiting at the conference and wanted a conference blurb, he said to me, "Oh my God, we've done the message strategy." He said, "Oh my God, Carol, I love that I don't have to reinvent the wheel." So how do we cut out the hassle? We plan once, i.e. doing the strategy, and we implement many times. We use those 10 forms of communication, but with the same underlying message. You save time, you save effort, you save money. You'll be talking to your right audience because you've determined, you've worked out who that audience is, so you'll be talking to them. You won't be trying to fit a square peg into your round hole. Your audience will select you and will be the right people who want what you've got to offer. And the third reason it cuts out the hassle is that you will be having communication that not only just tries to convert, it's not just buy, 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 it actually does the connection and it does the convincing. And if you can do those things, that will make it much easier to convert. So start with a strategy, create your top 10 and repurpose for business communication without the hassle. Now, if you liked that and found that useful, I'd like to tell you that I've written a longer version and there will be a book coming out soon. Thank you, Rachel. There will be a book coming out soon. This is the first time I've actually announced it. So it's a big deal for me, but there will be a book coming out soon called Connect, Convince, Convert. So stay posted and I'll let you know more about that. If in the meantime, you would like some tips on effective business communication, please do get in touch or sign up to my newsletter, and there's my contact details. Thank you all very much indeed, and I'm very happy to take any questions if anyone has them.